Somewhere on this planet, right now, three flags are flying side by side that have never flown together like this before. One belongs to a nation that holds nuclear warheads pointed at its enemies. One belongs to a kingdom that controls the taps of the world's oil supply. One belongs to a country with the second largest army inside NATO itself. Yesterday, on the holiest ground in Islam, the leaders of these three nations looked each other in the eye and made a blood pact. They said, if one of us bleeds, all three of us bleed. If one of us is attacked, all three of us strike back. No movie studio wrote this. No screenwriter imagined it. This happened for real, in Mecca, on August 7th, 2026. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand something most news channels won't tell you in 5 minutes. August 7th, 2026. Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Not a war room. Not a military base. The holiest city in Islam. The place where over 1 billion Muslims turn their faces 5 times a day. And in this city, 3 of the most powerful men in the Muslim world sat across a table together. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, a leader who has spent 2 decades rebuilding Turkey's military into one of the most formidable forces in NATO. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince and Prime Minister, Mohammed bin Salman, the man reshaping an entire kingdom's economy and ambitions, sitting on the largest oil reserves on Earth. And Pakistan's Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif, representing the only Muslim-majority country in the world that owns nuclear weapons. 3 different countries. 3 different militaries. 3 different economies. 1 signature. They called it the Mecca Joint Deterrence Agreement. And its core promise is chillingly simple. An attack on any one of these 3 nations will be treated as an attack on all 3. If you know your history, this should sound familiar. It's the exact same logic behind NATO's famous Article 5, the clause that has kept the United States, the UK, France, Germany, and dozens of other nations bound together since 1949. Except this time, it's not the West. This time, it's the Muslim world writing its own version of that rulebook. Now here's where most people get it wrong. They think this alliance appeared overnight. It didn't. This was a slow burn, nearly a year in the making. And if you trace it back, the story gets even more fascinating. Rewind the clock to September 17th, 2025. Inside the golden halls of Al Yamama Palace in Riyadh, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif was on a state visit. He was welcomed personally by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And on that day, the 2 countries signed something called the Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement. At that point, it was just the 2 of them, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. But make no mistake, this wasn't some ceremonial handshake deal. This was built on nearly 8 decades of brotherhood, shared Islamic identity, and deep strategic interest. Officials were quick to stress, this wasn't a reaction to any single event. It was the result of well over a year of quiet, careful negotiation behind closed doors. But here's the detail that should really catch your attention. A senior Saudi official told the Financial Times something extraordinary, that this agreement covered all defensive and military means deemed necessary depending on the specific threat. And when a journalist asked the obvious question, does that include Pakistan's nuclear arsenal? The official didn't dodge it. He said plainly, this is a comprehensive defensive agreement that encompasses all military means. Read between the lines. That's about as close as diplomacy ever gets to saying, yes, Pakistan's nuclear umbrella now extends over Saudi Arabia too. Think about the weight of that sentence for a second. For decades, Saudi Arabia's security blanket has been the United States. Now, for the first time, a Muslim nation with nuclear weapons was quietly offering that same protection, without Washington anywhere in the room. This is where Pakistan's motivations start to make sense too. In the months before this pact, Pakistan had already been through 2 brutal tests, a conflict with India in May, and tensions with the Taliban-led government in Afghanistan in October. Pakistan wasn't just looking for friends. It was looking for firepower-backed alliances it could actually rely on. So where does Turkey fit into all of this? By January 2026, just a few months after the Saudi-Pakistan Pact was signed, reports started leaking out of Ankara. Turkish media claimed that Turkey was actively negotiating to join the alliance, and that talks were already at an advanced stage. Now, this might surprise you, because Turkey is already a member of NATO. So why would a NATO country go shopping for a second security alliance? The answer is trust, or more specifically, the lack of it. Ankara had grown increasingly uneasy about America's commitment to its NATO allies. Regional dynamics were shifting fast, and Turkey wanted a backup plan, a second layer of security that didn't depend entirely on Washington's word. A Turkish strategist named Nihat Ali Ozkan explained it perfectly. He said each of these three countries brings something the others don't have. Saudi Arabia brings the money, oil wealth deep enough to fund entire militaries. Pakistan brings the muscle, nuclear weapons, ballistic missiles, and one of the largest standing armies on Earth. And Turkey brings the machine, combat-tested soldiers, and a booming defense industry, especially in one area that has become the talk of modern warfare. Which brings us back to yesterday. The Middle East, in the summer of 2026, is not a calm place. The United States and Israel are locked in an ongoing war with Iran. Regional tensions are stretched to breaking point. Countries across the Gulf are nervously watching, wondering who might be next. And in the middle of all that uncertainty, three leaders walked into a room in Mecca and put their names on paper. Erdogan, Mohammed bin Salman, Shahbaz Sharif. Together, they signed the Mecca Joint Deterrence Agreement, and with it, sent a message to the entire world. From this point forward, an attack on one of us is an attack on all three of us. Now, to be fair, experts are urging caution before we compare this directly to NATO. Analysts describe it not as a full mutual defense treaty, but as a framework, a structure for closer strategic, military, and defense industrial coordination. In plain English, it's not fully NATO yet, but it's built with NATO's blueprint sitting right next to it. Saudi officials have also gone out of their way to insist this pact isn't a threat aimed at any particular country. Publicly, at least, they're calling it a defensive measure, not an offensive one. But here's the thing about power in international politics. It's never just about what's written on paper. It's about what the paper represents. And what this paper represents is three of the most influential Muslim nations on Earth, standing shoulder to shoulder, telling the world they no longer need anyone else's permission to protect themselves. So let's talk about why this actually matters, because this isn't just a headline that fades in a week. This is a shift with ripple effects. Number 1. Gulf security will never look the same again. For half a century, Gulf nations have leaned on the United States as their ultimate security guarantee. That relationship is now being quietly rewritten. In fact, during the Biden administration, Saudi Arabia was actually negotiating a formal defense pact with the US, in exchange for normalizing relations with Israel. But that deal collapsed, largely because of the war in Gaza and the lack of any real progress toward a Palestinian state. Saudi Arabia didn't abandon the idea of a defense guarantee, it just found new partners to build one with. Number 2. This is a direct message to Israel. Timing in geopolitics is never an accident. The very first version of this pact, the Saudi-Pakistan Agreement, came just weeks after Israel's strike on Qatar. That's not a coincidence you can ignore. Regional powers are increasingly building their own deterrence, instead of trusting outside protection to show up in time. Number 3. Pakistan just leveled up. Pakistan has spent the last year fighting on two fronts, a conflict with India, and rising tensions with Afghanistan's Taliban government. Now, almost overnight, Pakistan finds itself standing next to Gulf oil money and Turkish military technology. Its bargaining power on the world stage has just gone up several notches. Number 4. A brand new power bloc may be forming. Combine Saudi Arabia's financial muscle, Pakistan's nuclear deterrent, and Turkey's military-industrial complex, and you get something the world has genuinely never seen before. A Muslim-majority security alliance capable of standing on its own 2 feet, without needing Washington, Moscow, or Beijing to co-sign it. And that changes the entire chessboard. Every rival power, the US, Israel, India, Iran, even China, will now have to recalculate what this alliance means for their own strategies in the region. A year ago, this was a quiet handshake between two countries in a palace in Riyadh. Today, it's a full-blown trilateral pact signed in the holiest city on Earth, backed by oil wealth, nuclear weapons, and battle-tested armies. This is bigger than a defense agreement. This is a statement. A statement that says the Muslim world is done waiting for permission, done depending entirely on foreign powers to guarantee its safety. If this video gave you a clearer picture than the 5-minute news clips out there, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me, do you think this alliance will hold strong, or is it too early to tell? I'll see you in the next video.